So something weird just happened, right? I'm coming here just to drop my kids off somewhere, like scouts and stuff. And the road that we're on is a very, very narrow road and it's uphill. So what happened as I'm parking up, a guy in a van, he comes up the road, and then there's another guy coming down the road in a car. So now both of them are right there and none of them wants to move back. So this is quite normal, I guess, in some cities, but it's quite weird in the small city that I live in. So I went in, I dropped the kids and stuff, and then I came out, and like a minute and a half later, these guys are still there. They're just like in the middle of the road. And the ironic thing is that it's quiet, so there's no real cars waiting behind them, but they're just both in the middle of the road. And none of them is saying anything. So it's not like it's aggressive or anything. It's like passive aggressive. They're both just looking at each other and no one's saying anything, and they're just there. And then the cars are starting to build up. So I'm kind of watching them. I'm like, what is going on? And it kind of reminds me of like situations and people and conflicts that, you're just kind of stuck there. And all it takes is for someone to just move a little bit or move back a little bit, but no one's willing to do it. And so they're both just sitting there, both just biding their time and sitting there in the middle of the road, not willing to kind of move and not saying anything. And in typical family fashion, like staying completely quiet and just pretending like everything's fine. Whereas they're both blocking traffic all over the place. So anyway, I went over to the guy who was in the van, who was kind of closest to me. And I said to him, look, mate, I think it's a good idea if you just kind of move back slightly, the traffic's kind of being held up and stuff. And he goes, well, look, I'm in a van. It's very difficult to back up in a van, right? And I'm like, well, fair point. I guess it is harder to kind of stop a van and get back. So it makes sense what he's saying, right? So then I go over to the other car, and this car's got two guys in there, right? And they are from obviously a different background to the guy in the car. So anyway, they go to me, look, brother, thank you so much. I know you're a peace guy. He just said that to me. I know you're a peace guy just by looking at you. But these guys, he's a this, he's a that. He just started swearing. I'm like, do you know him? He's like, no. He's like, but he looked at my face. He saw my face. And then he basically kept coming. So in his head, he's kind of got this story now saying that this guy has seen my face. He's seen the color of my skin. And because of that, he hasn't given way. And that's why he's kind of made such a big deal about it. So it's so amazing just to see, like, out of nowhere, like two stories kind of created, one saying I'm in a van, you should have done this. The other one saying, look, he looked at my color and he said this. And it's just amazing how things like this happen. And they happen within families, they happen in friends, they happen all over the place. And to everyone watching, it looks ridiculous because you're like, look, why don't you guys just move and get on with your lives? But the ego gets in the way. And the stubbornness gets in the way. And no one wants to move. And no one wants to make a difference. Even though their own lives will be better just by moving slightly back and slightly out the way. And the irony of it is that someone is going to have to move. At some point, someone will have to move. Like, we're not going to live on the streets, right? Not the whole of the street is not just going to wait for these guys. We're not going to build houses. Someone's going to have to move. And so there's a massive lesson in here, I think, for me, first and foremost, about like relationships, about moving back, about realizing that, you've got these stories in your head, you've got all this kind of drama that's going on in your head, but really, if you just take a couple of steps back and then get out of the way, life could be very free, life could be very different. But I think sometimes we just enforce it on the other people, enforce it on everyone else. So it's really, really important, I think, to take a lesson from this madness that just happened in the street, that if you have to, be humble, take a few steps back, and then go forward, inshallah, with your own life. Jazakallah khair for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.